Welcome to Temple Timeless Tales, where every whisper carries the wisdom of ages, where the wind remembers names long buried, and where stories are not merely told, they are lived. Timeless tales, endless wisdom, boundless imagination. In the last chapter to The Echoes of Power, we walked beside a girl named Zina, a girl born of mystery, raised in silence, and bound to a river that speaks in riddles. She watched her world unravel, as Obaduma rose like a storm cloaked in charm, tearing down temples, bending hearts with fear, and silencing the old ways one shrine at a time. Mama Ebele, keeper of the ancient flame, saw what others could not, that Zina was more than a girl without a name. She was a vessel waiting to be filled, a flame waiting to rise. And now, the river waits too. Part 3, The River Remembers begins not with thunder, but with silence. The kind that comes before a great awakening. The kind that holds its breath before a name is spoken. This is a tale of exile and return, of visions carved into stone on spirit, of voices not shouted, but earned. This is the moment where legends do not end, they begin. So listen closely, traveler of tales. The river has not forgotten. It remembers. It watches. And tonight, it speaks. The Wise Woman of the River, Part 3, The River Remembers. The skies over Noma hung heavy, like secrets not yet spoken. The wind had lost its voice. Even the birds, once heralds of morning songs, flew low in uneasy silence. The children no longer danced by the fireside. And the drums, they had not spoken in days. Something ancient stirred beneath the stillness. A tension not seen, but deeply felt. Obaduma had not merely questioned the river. He had pierced the spirit of Noma. Temples stood abandoned, left to the dust. Shrines, once bathed in oil and prayer, now lay broken, forgotten. And the river, once the heartbeat of the village, now whispered not in blessing, but in mourning. At its bank stood Zina, barefoot in the mud, the drizzle tracing paths down her cheeks. Her reflection swam beneath the ripples, fractured and fleeting, like a memory fading into silence. She stood still, listening, hoping. But the river, once so alive with song and guidance, was distant now, muted, mourning. Behind her, whispers began to rise. Some said she was cursed. Others feared her mother's blood, the blood of a dreamer, a challenger. They called her names behind cupped hands. One spat on the ground as she passed. Another shielded her child like she carried a plague. But Zina remained silent, and her silence carried the weight of thunder. In the dimness of Mama Ebele's heart, the old woman lay still, breath shallow, the lantern casting long, twitching shadows across the mud walls. Her words came slowly, but they carried roots, deep and unshakable. The river grows quiet before it rises. Your time is close, child. But you must find your voice before you can carry its sound. Zina didn't respond. She simply placed a cloth across Ebele's shoulders, blinked away tears that dared to fall, and held her silence like a storm held back by the weight of clouds. That night, when the village slept and even the owls held their breath, she left, with a carved wooden god in her satchel, a fire stick in hand, and the quiet strength of her lineage in her stride. She walked deeper into the forest than she'd ever dared, past thorny vines and forgotten paths, past warrior drums half-eaten by time, past the ruins of the iron gate where oaths of fire and blood once echoed. She walked toward the place only whispered in riddles, toward the cave of echoes. The moon followed her like a quiet guardian. Fireflies lit her way like memories returning to guide her steps. The mist thickened, and the trees bent slightly, almost in reverence. Then, she saw it. The great tree. Wider than any hut, older than any memory. Its bark bore carvings of river mothers long gone. She laid her hand on its trunk, and the hollow opened. Few had reached this place. Fewer still had returned the same. Within the cave, the walls shimmered with life, moss that pulsed like breath. Symbols that glowed with unseen energy. At its center, a pool. Still, luminous, waiting. Here, it was said, the river mothers spoke. Not with tongues, but with visions. Not to the ears, but to the soul. Zina knelt. The pool stirred, and shadows rose. Zina's younger self, frightened and curious. Her mother, crying in silence. Mama Ebele, fading like smoke. The villagers, turning their backs. And Obaduma, laughing. The cave held her truth. And now, it demanded her pain. The time for hiding was over. She uncorked the god. The scent of sacred herbs filled the air. The pool awakened, and a voice rose, not from the air around her, but from the very water itself. It was many voices, all layered as one. A chorus of the river's memory. Will you rise in rage, or stand in wisdom? Will you be a voice for fear, or a vessel for truth? Her tears fell freely now, into the pool, into the past, into the river's waiting heart. She poured the god's contents into the water, and the pool began to spin, glowing, rising like spirit mist. The cave trembled. Symbols along the walls illuminated, markings of the first river mothers, each telling a story of fire, sacrifice, and rebirth. The river had seen her, and it had spoken. At that moment, across Noma, the earth stirred. Obaduma paused mid-speech, sensing something beyond the reach of his power. A calabash cracked without being touched. A goat bleated and fled. And the wind changed direction. The watchers were summoned. For something had awakened. At dawn, Zina emerged. her steps no longer unsure. Her eyes aglow like the embers of a sacred fire. In her hand, a twisted staff of river wood, carved not by man, but by destiny itself. She did not return with words. She returned with purpose. No longer the quiet girl of Numa. She was now the memory of the river made flesh. She was the echo of those forgotten, the roar of those yet to rise. Wind danced around her, trees bowed, and the river began to sing once more. Mama Ebele, from her mat, sat up with strength reborn, and whispered into the morning air, "It has begun." Zina walked back into the village, not to seek permission, but to bring reckoning. For when rivers remember, they rise. And when silence breaks, truth flows. She was not born of fear. She was carved by current, named by storm, and called by the river. And now she had returned. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the river sang louder, and the wind carried a promise. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. And so, the river has spoken. Zina has walked through fear, through fire, through memory. She has touched the past, not to cling to it, but to understand what must now rise. She returned not with answers, but with the weight of a calling, and the glow of something sacred rekindled. Obaduma felt it. The land shifted beneath him. For when truth rises, even tyrants tremble. Noma is no longer silent. The water stirs, the wind listens, and a girl once cast aside now walks as the voice of the river. But this is only the beginning. In part 4, a choice must be made. The path ahead is not paved with glory, but with sacrifice. Old powers will awaken. Allies will reveal their true faces. And Zina must decide, will she be a shield for her people, or a storm that changes everything? Until then, let the river remember. Let the echoes guide you. And thank you for journeying with us at Temple Timeless Tales, where every story is a memory, waiting to be awakened. Temple Timeless Tales. Timeless tales. Endless wisdom. Boundless imagination.
Thank you, dear friend, for sharing this time. More tales await. Legends sublime. Like, share, subscribe. Stay on this ride. Together we'll journey, hearts open wide. With every story and song we embrace. In the warmth of our voices, find your place.